One of the fun things about being an instructor in cultural studies is that you see them grow. And it's so much fun seeing the people that we've had in intro now doing these like 1-year projects. It's just really exciting. You can't see it because I have a shirt on, but I have goosebumps right now. Our next presenter is Matthew Carlton, and the title of his project is Kafka and the Ideological Subject. And I'm quoting because he put himself in the accent. My project is, so that's Matthew, his project is, first, a literary analysis of Franz Kafka's novella, The Trial, in 1925, and its relationship to French philosopher Louis Althusser's conception of ideological interpellation and the ideological subject. Second, it is a dialectical analysis and conceptions of the ideological subject in Althusser and Judith Butler, exploring the limits of subjectivity in a material and transcendental dialect. The work of Kafka can be used to demonstrate the subjective ideological dilemma and is therefore compelling inquiry into the transcendental dialectic. Matthew.
I'll just go. So what Louis Althusser describes as the material conditions of existence play an important role in Althusser's theory of subjectivity. The aim of this capstone project is to apply Althusser's ideas about the interpolated subject to Franz Kafka's novella, The Trial, in order to arrive at an understanding of the subject. In particular, this analysis aims to understand the role of the subject's own agency in the process through which an interpolated subjectivity is formed. Kafka's concept of the subject, demonstrated in The Trial, provides an illustration of the manner in which the material conditions of existence affect the emergence of subjectivity and how the interpolated subject depends on the subject's own agency. Where Althusser's theory falls short on accounting for the process of becoming a subject, this analysis, in addition to looking at Kafka for illustration, will also draw on Judith Butler and Friedrich Hegel for conceptual tools to building a satisfying account of the ways in which the material conditions of existence, along with the subject's own agency, produce an ideological interpolated subject. So, through Kafka's work, as an author through his fiction, he depicts a world of alienation, of subjectivity, but also of shame. In The Trial, he is this banker, Joseph K. He is arrested one morning by these two men, barge into his house, and they say, "You, sir, are under arrest by the law of the court." And he says, "Well, what do you mean?" And they say, "The courts have deemed that you are guilty and that you are now on trial and you have to go through this process." He says, "Well, what do you mean? Am I going to go to jail? Am I am I going to go to prison? Am I going to see my family again? What's going to happen to my life?" And they say, no, you're totally fine. You're totally okay. You're just guilty and you're just on trial, and you will, your court date will come. You will be put in jail when the day comes, but until then you are to live out your day-to-day life." He is a vice president at a bank. He has this very bureaucratic, very kind of bougie, higher culture job, and he takes pride in that. He has pride in this ideologically formed position that he has worked for, as he goes by his trial and stuff like that, he starts to see, sort of this framework that he built about himself through like external factors like his job start to fall. Sorry, I'm a little off track. So at the end of the trial, there's this notion of shame, and he is pretty much attacked in his own house, and it's like, okay, so it's time to be let out, and he's killed by these two men, and the whole time that he's pleading with them, how can you kill me, how can you do this to me, blah, 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 they're saying, well, that's not for us to decide. There are people of a way higher power than you, than us, even to way more smart. So there's this like empirical deduction in accepting his guilt and accepting also like the lack of agency that he can have in proving his own innocence. He's killed in a ditch. He's choked and stabbed, and the last words of the novel are, "And it seems his shame is to outlive him." So there's this notion of shame that the ideologically interpolated subject, I guess, has to fall through. Transposed with Althusser's theory. I know this is a lot, I'm sorry. Althusser, the conceptual version of that, he is saying that ideology is this external force that I guess, oppresses its subjects while also negating their own agency or their own individuality, their own subjectivity, what have you. He says that comes through two ways, through the symbolic ideological machine, which would be called the ideological state apparatuses, which could probably play into what we in this room identify as like self-identifiers. So like the fact that you are a parent or a teacher, or you have this job, and that you have a sense of pride in this, a sense of like ontological pride, or like a pride that exceeds your own personal identity, that gives you worth to like on the most like existential level, to where if you were in a position like Kay, where you were, you know, arrested in your own day-to-day, that you can somehow get above that on your own sense of will. So what I wanted to do in this paper is I wanted to reimagine the symbolic machine in Althusser's theory with the fiction of Kafka, and sort of depict like the interpolated subject that has no agency in Althusser's theory. As sort of like, we can look at Kafka as like a representation of that. So this level of Kafka's shame can be empirically deducted in Althusser's conception of the ideological subject. Being that Althusser doesn't give a lot of room in his theories for this like material condition of existence, and I was kind of getting stuck in this sort of cycle of shame, I guess, that the subject has to go through. And that is actually kind of the shortcoming of this essay, is I wanted to offer like some sort of like what could Kay do, like how would you not get shame? I couldn't do that, so that's when I was getting into Judith Butler and Hegel, and these people who were sort of conceptually reaching for, I guess, like a higher sense of self, but in the sense that it can be like combated with this is the ideological real, or that can be in like a, I guess, accessible way. Because it's very cynical. The trial is very cynical. It's a very cynical story in it, and I guess what Kafka is saying is that we are all like that, and whether or not we know it, we are all being stabbed to death in this ditch, and that could come out through its own way, through our own like personal sense of despair, what have you. But I had like a nice thing. So, I mean, yeah.
We got you.
Yeah, man.